good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Well, I can't believe it's time to do this, but looking ahead, we're close enough to be talking about Advent.
Ooh.
Advent. It's Sunday. It's here on Sunday. Can you believe it?
Isn't that
Wow.
crazy? Where did the year go?
Where did it go?
Yeah,
Where did it go?
yeah. So I guess for our boys and girls, they've heard us throw that word around a lot, but what is Advent?
The best season of the church year. I don't care what anyone else says.
Yeah, it is. It is my
It
favorite.
really.
If you disagree, you're just wrong. Unequivocally wrong.
So what is Advent? What is Advent? Advent is a time of preparation. It's also the first day in the new church year.
Yeah,
It's the beginning.
yeah.
Well, what are we preparing for?
Jesus.
Christmas.
Christmas. That's right.
Yeah.
So how do we, if it's a time of preparation, preparing for Christmas, how do we tell that story in Advent? How do we prepare?
Well, one way is our readings. A lot of our readings start looking forward to talking about this Messiah coming, and talking about the future and looking ahead. And a lot of our readings say, be alert, pay attention. And so, yeah, I think that's a lot of it is pay attention because Jesus is coming. It's worth paying attention.
So messages about being alert, staying awake, we hear it through the readings. We also get these messages through our music, through our Advent music, this message of be prepared, be awake, get ready for this Messiah, Messiah who is to come, who we know is going to come as Jesus.
Yeah.
It's also the start of a new year. But that's weird that the year would start in November this year. Why does that? How does that work?
It's a church year.
It's a church
Oh yeah,
year.
the church year is different. That's right. The
Yeah.
church years. Our confirmands are learning about that, and our confirmands actually the lesson for Christ for the church year is we look at the Christ the King service, which tells the whole church year. We begin on Advent and go all the way through the seasons and end with Christ the King Sunday. So we're at a new, it's Happy New Year.
Yeah, well, and it's because our church year revolves around the life of Jesus. So if you're going to start with the life of Jesus, that Christmas is Jesus is born, but we also have some readings that start a little before Jesus's birth. So that's why we start when we do. We back up a little bit from Christmas and then start our year talking about getting ready for Jesus coming. And so, so then that kind of brings us to our second question. We have a lot of great, we have a lot of great images that come into play around Advent, some things that our boys and girls will notice in the sanctuary during worship. And honestly, I like how the church looks during Advent. And I have to confess, maybe even a little bit more than how the church looks at Easter. I like Advent a whole lot. So, yeah.
Well, what are some of those images?
We have a lot of blue.
Blue. That's right, blue. Some churches have purple, but blue is the older color. And blue, I love that too. I love the blue. And blue is usually not a color I particularly like very much. I mean, I like navy blue, of course. But I don't always like blue, but I love the blue at Advent because it's so, I think, unexpected. I love it.
There's a couple of explanations for it too.
Yeah, what is it?
One is they call it Marian blue, so referring to Mary, Mary who's carrying Jesus. And then I've also heard an explanation that there's a particular shade of blue that's like the color of the sky right before the sun comes up. It's this blue right before the sun comes up. And so it's this, the night is just about to give way to dawn. And that's a very hopeful thing.
I love it. It is hope. There's a lot of hope images. So we also have the image of the wreath, the wreath, the evergreen wreath that never dies. It's always here. It shows everlasting life. Also, it's in a circle. Love never ends. God that never ends. And then the candles. Candles are another important one. Why do we have candles and light? What's that all about?
Yeah. Danny, you've got people lighting candles.
The light,
Yeah.
well, what isn't it? It's just it's like a reminder, right? And it
What?
notates that Christ is coming.
Exactly. And we tell this story in such a neat way. We have the wreath, and first week we light one candle, and then we light two candles, and then three, and then finally four candles, and then the fifth one if it will come at Christmas. But what happens when you light one candle in a dark room?
It gets brighter.
Then when you light two,
even brighter,
and then three,
even brighter,
and then when you get to four, not only does it get brighter, it's actually getting darker outside because we're moving closer to a time when the shortest day of the year, the darkest evening of the year. And so we really need that light, but we also need to have that light to remind us of that hope of the coming light at Christmas, the light that no darkness can overcome, which is called Jesus the Christ, the Messiah, who's going to come at Christmas as a little baby. Yeah. So some churches put a Christmas tree up, and this is always a little tricky because Christmas trees really come at Christmas. And part of that preparation is we put the tree up. Now at St. Matthew's, we put it up after Advent 1, and then we get it starts to look a little bit more like Christmas as we get closer to Christmas with the greenery and that the Altar Guild puts up and all the other decorations that come at Christmas.
I mean, let's be honest, we have a lot of Christmas stuff that goes up and we go all out at Christmas time. But if the Altar Guild had to do that all in 1 week, like the tree and greens and everything, that'd be pretty overwhelming. So like a gradual Christmas creeping in, I think that on both fronts, it's like we're getting closer to Christmas, but I think it also helps the Altar Guild a whole lot too.
So any boys and girls and their families who are watching this, if you all want to help, if your family wants to help with the Christmas tree, then call Dennis Bates or Melinda Summer and say that you want to help because they always need help to decorate that Christmas tree. It's a big job.
Don't you mean the Christmas tree?
I mean Christmas tree.
Yes. Wow, yeah. Reverend.
I know. Sorry. Yes, there are so many important images that come. And there's also another image too that we don't look at this image, but this image that's happening that we don't really often talk about. But Advent is a bridge from the Old Testament to the New Testament. It's a time when we talk about those prophecies of old, but it bridges us into this new covenant, the New Testament time. So I think that's another important one.
Yeah, that's where you get we have it on our parament that's on the altar. It's the stump with a little sprig coming out, and it's the shoot from the tree of Jesse. And that goes back to the Old Testament that Jesus would be from the line or a descendant of King David. And King David was the son of Jesse. And so that little sprig reminds us of Jesus coming from that family line, that the Messiah would come from that family. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a very hopeful image.
So finally, what are your favorite parts about Advent? We've talked about a lot, but what are your favorite parts about Advent?
Man. I don't even know where to begin. Sorry. I need to be candid and say, as we're recording this, it's days before the Affair to Remember. So I am distracted like you wouldn't believe with phone calls and messages coming in. Favorite part of Advent, I think it's just the atmosphere for the whole season, right? I mean, it's just, the weather gets a little cooler, which I love. You've got great music, the way the church gets decorated and kind of dressed up in a way is awesome. There's it's a time where we turn more like inward to the community and give thanks for the relationships that we have. Obviously there's Christmas parties and gatherings like that are always fun. I'm listening to Christmas music now, much to some of the youth's dismay. But it's just the whole season is just so much fun.
Yeah. I like a lot of the music in Advent. Just it's so rich with so many amazing words and images, and just even the tunes are some of my favorite tunes. O Come, O Come, Emmanuel, and there's just so many good Advent tunes. We probably need to bring Jason in here to talk about it, just because he would probably have some great insight to add too. But that's just one of my favorite parts of the music. It just really adds to that sense of anticipation overall. So, what about you, Pastor Eric?
Yeah, I agree with that too. And often Advent music gets a bad rap. For some reason, people don't like Advent songs, but Advent, I think, has some of the best music. And one of my favorites is Awake, Awake, and Greet the New Morning. That's a newish song by Marty Haugen. I love that one. And of course, I think we'll probably talk about this in another time, but at another King Street Kids Q&A, but I love the theme of watchful waiting. Mm-hmm. As busy as we are at Advent, it is the busiest time of the year because we are not only at work at church, but also we have our family things to do. I try to take moments to reflect and think about the season, what's happening, and this idea of watchful waiting. The event, I think for most anything, whether it's a vacation, whether it's a holiday, anything, I almost always, the anticipation and preparation is even more important and more enjoyable and satisfying than the event itself. I love to prepare for something and get ready for it, whether it's a meal for other people or for a party or whatever. I love to anticipate and prepare for it. And that's what Advent's all about. I love that. And it's also a very hopeful time too. It's so many images, and the images are so important. They tell the story, the story of the church year. So wonderful season. I love it. My favorite.
Yeah. So hopefully with so much going on, our boys and girls will join us in our most favorite time of year for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. That's right. All right. Well, yeah, that was a pretty full episode, but obviously, as you can tell, we have a lot to say about Advent because we just love it so much. But anyway, thank y'all for joining us. And we will be back next week with even more Advent things.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Be well. Y'all have a great week.
Bye, everyone.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.